Our format today is not a debate. Each candidate will have an opening statement. The candidates will be asked questions prepared by our program committee. Each panelist will have the opportunity to ask one question of one other candidate, and then the candidates will answer questions submitted in writing by our audience. The candidates will then give a closing statement.
Do you ever get so angry and frustrated that you set aside everything and take up a cause? That's what I did 5 years ago. I was completely frustrated with the paralysis in the Oregon legislature. And I brought together a small band of progressive leaders and took on one of the most important missions in this state, and that was to put a progressive majority in place to put our state back on track. 4 years later, 4 years of recruiting, fundraising, partnership building, we succeeded. And as Speaker of the 2007 legislature, I led the most pro-education, pro-family, pro-worker, pro-healthcare, pro-environmental, and pro-civil rights session that we have had in decades, and the best session in the United States of America in 2007. Oregon is back. We lowered the cost of prescription drugs, tackled global warming, won basic rights and domestic partnerships, ended triple-digit payday loan sharking, and launched a rainy day fund to keep critical programs on track. And we increased our investment in education, the most important investment we could make, by approximately 20%, and doubled scholarships for our students going to college. But Oregon cannot thrive unless our nation is thriving. And you know and I know that our nation is far off track. And it's time for us to do something about it. It's time to end the war in Iraq and bring our sons and daughters home, and to do so today. It's time to build a healthcare system that serves every man, woman, and child in America. It's time to tackle global warming. And it's time to send the Bush administration's obsession with secret prisons and extraordinary renditions and suppressing the Bill of Rights into the dustbin of history. And isn't it time to vastly increase our investment in Head Start through higher education, in education? It's time to do it now. And I ask for your help together to do so, to put America back on track.
I'm Steve Novick. I'm running for the United States Senate, and the podium's taller than I am. I'm running because we're facing big challenges. We need to rebuild a fairer economy, stop global warming, fix the healthcare system, get out of Iraq. And we need strong, principled, progressive leaders to make the changes we need, leaders who aren't afraid to tell people what it's going to take. And I'm running because I know that to beat Gordon Smith, we need more than politics as usual, because Gordon Smith is really good at politics as usual. Here's a guy who poses as a moderate by being for all the spending and all the tax cuts. A guy who votes against drilling for oil in the Arctic, then votes for it. We can't beat a guy that good at politics as usual with more politics as usual. We need someone who will take on the tough issues and tell voters the truth. Here's one truth. If we're going to save Social Security and Medicare, have a national health care system, if we're going to make investments in renewable energy, we got to pay for it. Here's a couple ways. Right now, if you make your money buying and selling stock, you pay a lower tax rate than if you work for a living. We got to change that. Right now, if you make $1 million a year, you only pay Social Security tax the first $100,000. We got to change that. Both Gordon Smith and Speaker Merkley oppose those common sense ideas. We're also going to need somebody to beat Gordon Smith who gives us a straight answer to a simple question. Recently, Gordon Smith said that he wanted to end the 70-year-old rule and allow people to carry loaded guns in national parks. I said that I agree with park rangers, that's a silly idea. Speaker Merkley said he doesn't know what he thinks, he'd have to ask other people. It's because I'm willing to give straight answers to simple questions that I'm endorsed by John Kitzhaber, Pete Sorensen, Tony Corcoran, and Lessa Point. We need leaders who are progressive, who are principled, and who are willing to fight for their principles. It's the only way we're going to change this country, and the only way we're going to win this race.
Security faces long-term financial problems. How do you propose Congress protect or improve Social Security?
Social Security wouldn't be facing any real problem until about 2040 if Congress and the presidents have been doing what they promised to do over the years and save the Social Security surplus that's supposed to have been accumulating since 1983. Instead, that surplus has been stolen and used to pay for wars and tax cuts for the rich. So there is a danger that there won't be the money available to repay Social Security what's been owed, so that those of us who have been paying extra taxes for all these years, so it'll be there when we retire, will have it there when we retire. That's why I think that it's important that we put the whole federal government back on a sound financial footing. That's why I proposed that we need to stop letting people who make their money buying and selling stock pay a lower tax rate than people who work for a living. We got to stop letting Warren Buffett pay a lower tax rate than his secretary. That's why I proposed that people who make over $100,000 a year stop getting a tax break where if they make $1 million a year, they only pay Social Security on the first $100,000. This is one of the big issues where Speaker Merkley and I disagree. I've said we need to be straight with the people of this state and of this country and talk about ways to raise the revenue to stabilize the federal budget. Speaker Merkley has said he disagrees with both of those proposals. Those are real substantive differences. Yeah, I know he'll say, roll back the Bush tax cut to the top 1%, get out of Iraq. That won't be enough to deal with the long-term fiscal problems we're facing.
Thank you.
Social Security is a bedrock commitment between the generations of America. And I will never, ever allow the Republicans or any group to privatize Social Security, as has been attempted time and time again over recent years. The Social Security Fund is solvent to 2041. It was the threat of national security, Social Security was a manufactured threat by the Republicans in their effort to privatize it. I'm so disappointed that Steve has taken the Republican bait on that issue. The tax does not need to be increased.
Mr. Guerra.
I spent years in the Pentagon as a presidential fellow and then working for Congress on national strategic issues, working closely with the military service. I honor them, I support them. I've opposed this war from the beginning. I'm the only person who has done so in writing and in a speech 2 days in, when quite frankly, Steve Novick was missing in action.
The next question is for Mr. Novick. In addition to the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, there is another war, the war on poverty. What do you think can be done to ensure a victory on this ever-expanding front?
Well, first of all, I have to respond to that. I was not missing in action. I was marching in anti-war rallies where I saw people holding great signs, like one, this is in Portland, I have to tell you, that said, "Even Gresham wants peace." And Speaker Merkley, I never misrepresent what he said. I point out there was a sentence about supporting the troops. I just asked the question, wait a minute, do we vote for anything the Republicans put in front of us as long as they remember to put in the sentence about supporting the troops? How do we fight poverty? We need to build housing. How do we fight poverty? We need to stop subsidizing bad food and subsidize good food, fruits and vegetables, so it's easier for poor people to buy good food and their children are healthier. How do we fight poverty? We need to build more mass transit. How do we fight poverty? We need food stamp outreach. How do we fight poverty? We build universal health care. How do we fight poverty? We ask wealthy people to pay their fair share so we can do all these things, which Speaker Merkley disagrees with.
Next question is for Ms. Neville.